We are reviewing a show which we are very uncomfortable saying the name of because we don't know how to pronounce
Is
it.
it not Makeine?
I think it's
Macaroni?
Makene or
Macaroni?
I don't know. It's just such a strange. It does not feel right in our mouths.
Mmm.
I know that sounded very sexual.
Sounds very right.
Yes. Too many losing heroines. This was a summer 2024 anime passed by moi back in episode 740. You can watch it on Crunchyroll. And here's the general synopsis. Meet the girls on the losing side of romance. First is Anna Yanami, the girl next door type who can't say no to delicious food. Then there's Lemon Yaki Shio, a beautiful and spirited athlete. Last but not least is Chika Komari, the cute but shy heroine with gentle charm. Together, they navigate awkward setbacks, hoping to finally find love. Um, so going into it, like I was really in for the aesthetics. Like this is a very beautiful show, and that's obvious from like the first the first look at of it. Um, I watched a few episodes and I thought the main cast was pretty fun and it also had potential to do more than the average rom-com since they had more stories dealing with rejection rather than a will they won't they average rom-com experience. Um so I did feel like I was a little unsure passing it, but I did think that at the very least it deserved a review. It definitely seemed like one of the more watched shows of the season, but I was also interested to see where it was going to go because I do think it had potential. I just was not absolutely sure about it. Mason, what were your thoughts going into it?
I wasn't really aware of the show too much. It looked kind of generic from its promotional image, which is why I didn't really pick up on it. But there was definitely an undercurrent of quality in the discourse around the show. A lot of people were just really surprised, really positive on it. So I was expecting something, you know, pretty solid for a light novel rom com, and that's what I went into it with.
Uh, how about Otaku Cop?
Well, I am a consumer of all rom-coms, and when I saw the PV, it looked beautiful, and I read the synopsis of, the fact that it is dealing more with rejection than with, a will they, won't they. So I was in from the start, and it took one episode for me to fall in love with Anna as a character. So I really was all about the show, and I'm sure it will be reflected in my score at the end, Mason.
And Emery?
It already hurts. Yeah, go ahead.
Y- Yep, for me, Anna is best girl. I will fight everyone who says Lemon is best girl. I love Anna so, so much.
What if
But
I were to
yes.
say that neither were best girl and there's actually somebody else, which I will
Okay.
review later?
Okay.
Mm.
I'll wait for the reveal.
Yes.
But I heard about this show from Mother's Basement, which is a YouTube channel that also reviews anime. Yes, we can watch other anime channels, everyone. It is okay. And so when I had heard about the show, about the detailed art and background, and it being a love letter to rom coms, I was interested and was pretty immediately sold upon the first episode. Just the humor that it touched on, my type of humor. And so I was ready to go for this one.
Great. Just going into our general recommendations, spoiler free. I will go first once again. Unfortunately, I cannot strongly recommend this anime. Um, and here's why. I will say it has its good points. I think it looks great throughout, and the main cast has some really good chemistry, and there are quite a few choices for best girl here. And if you generally like rom-coms, there is something enjoyable here, at least in the first half. As it went on, I felt like it was dragging a lot. The plot was kind of getting boring for me, and I was getting pretty irritable with the side characters that were incredibly weird for no reason, and there are several I could talk about here. There's the constantly drunk baby-faced teacher. There's the very horny nurse that is way too eager to make child pornography. There's the upperclassman girl. She's like brain dead and gaspy for some reason. And I looked at the Wikipedia page. Apparently, she's supposed to be like a zombie girl. And why? For what reason is she a zombie?
Cleavage. It's for the
And
cleavage.
cleavage. And it's like, I'm sorry, did she have like a lobotomy? Like, that's what I'm getting right now from her. And I just don't know why. So there are so many characters like this that are just weird for no reason, and it just distracted me. And I'm like, they're not even likably weird. They're just strange. Um, and I was even disliking Komari by the end of it. Like, I already kind of get irritated with her character type, like the ones that are just so socially inept that like they can't even hold a conversation with anybody and they constantly have to stutter and all that stuff. I'm not huge on those characters. She did win me over when I'm not going to say the spoiler, but she did something in the first few episodes. I forget which episode that really made me interested in her. But then by the end of it, we were back to the focus being her social anxieties and just I just got irritated watching it. So it had a lot of potential at the start. Unfortunately for me, it did not stick the landing by the end. But there is some good things. It had the potential, but just did not stick it for me. Mason.
I definitely agree with Otaku and Emery. This show, especially episode 1, came out swinging really above average in terms of quality, snappy and sharp in the dialogue, in the visuals. It's a incredibly well-produced show across the board. Very consistently, just looks great visually. No one can take that away. A couple episodes into it, I was very much feeling it. I was never very excited to watch the next episode, but it was always just kind of fine and did more good than not. And I was like very much clocking it in my like rom-com repository of something alongside the works of like Hyoka, which is just a really gorgeous looking show, great cast, really interesting chemistry and dialogue, and just was hitting and feeling fresh and feeling good and feeling like a definite standout in the rom-com landscape. Unfortunately, though, I really find myself agreeing with Caroline in her spoiler-free recommendation from the very fan-servicey characters that felt very forced at a lot of times. Especially the last run of episodes just really started to wear on me by the end. And in a show like this, where your characters are the lifeblood of everything, to have them be the one to drop the ball really was a betrayal of the trust and everything that I was enjoying so much along the way. So, first half of this show, easy recommendation. By the end, it's really only for the diehards who enjoyed this kind of rom-com, which it is a good one still at the end of the day. It just didn't become a standout that I thought it had in its bones and in its potential. So unfortunately, can't give it a strong recommendation either. But I think the next two recommendations will be a bit stronger. So let's move on to some positivity.
Bring up the positivity, guys. Otaku Cop.
Yes. So I can't recommend this enough. I thought that for a rom-com, it was refreshingly different, where it kind of presented self potentially as a harem, but it didn't function like one as much. And it really did confront the trope of childhood best friends ending up together in a very interesting way, where people had to process when things don't necessarily go the way they either wanted it to or planned. And I felt like some of the emotion when some of the characters dealt with rejection or loss was very raw and very real. And I thought they captured what young love feels like when it goes wrong. And I know that some of the tropey stuff, like I'm with you on the teacher and the nurse. They were both obnoxious, but they also did make me laugh a few times too. Uh, I can't recommend it enough. I think it finished with enough of at least wanting to see more. I wanted to see more. So I recommend it highly. What about you, Emery?
I loved it. I really did. So yeah, absolutely yes. This had to be one of my top shows of the season. I it's just shocking to me because it's not shonen. For those who don't know, I clearly love shonen. We also have a side podcast, Shonen Showdown. Go listen to it. It's great. And yet for this rom-com, I loved every aspect of this show. I loved the backgrounds that were stunningly detailed. I thought the comedy was very clever. Yes, there are tropes in there that of course they didn't love, but for me, the main character is enjoyable and in my opinion not a bland main character, which we often get in rom-coms. And he was the chorus for I think how we often feel going into rom-coms, and his reflection on that was done very, very well. And we can get more into it in the spoiler territory, but I took a look real quick at the source material against the anime, and I'm honestly very impressed. I'm also very impressed by the voice acting, both in the sub and the dub. I watched both. The actors and actresses really put their heart and soul into dedicating to the lines, dedicating to the bits, and I really love it. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who is looking for a rom-com. I might even recommend it to those who are normally in the shonen realm. I thought this was done really well.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the voice acting. I mean, I only watched in sub, but there were some really good scenes where I'm like, "Oh, they had to dig deep for that one." And something that I don't think we really talked about much either is the music. I thought was very,
Oh,
very pleasant.
the original soundtrack was it just felt like a little joyride for me. Just the instrumentals were awesome.
Yeah, is there anything else you guys want to discuss before we head into spoilers?
Nah, I think
No?
let's dive
No.
in.